How's it going, everyone? JStar here, and welcome back to another Pokémon Aim to be a Pokémon Master episode review. We're getting very close to the finale. This is the second to last episode, which means next week will be the final episode for Ash and Pikachu. In case you missed last week's episode, make sure you check it out. Team Rocket officially left the Pokémon Anime, and we also got to see a lot of their old Pokémon, so make sure you check that out. So without further ado, let's jump into today's episode review. So this week's episode opened up with a little scene from last week's episode. We got to see that Latios, that had been trapped by some Pokemon hunter, managed to break free and get out into the open world. Ash, Brock and Misty with Latios attempt to try and find Latios and track him down. We then have another scene of Latios getting chased by this Pokemon hunter, although Latios heads into a cave and manages to heal its wounds. We then also see when it's nighttime that Team Rocket are back into the anime. However, Jesse, James and Meowth are still split up, but they do arrive at the Team Rocket headquarters. Back to Ash, Brock and Misty and Latios, and eventually they manage to find Latios in the cave. However, Latios is not very happy to see these people with Latias, and it starts to attack them. However, the hunter intervenes, and using its Hydreigon gun, it manages to latch onto Latios and Latias. Ash, then being Ash, jumps onto the hunter and attacks him, not with his Pokemon, with his fists and things, a bit like he did with Faber in Sun and Moon. But it works because Latios managed to get free, and as it's trying to flee from the battle, the hunter then turns Latias into like a metal statue. The hunter then attempts to escape, however Ash brings out his Swellow to track the hunter down. Once Swellow had tracked the hunter down, we then see that Swellow and Steelix had also been turned to these metal statues as well. Pikachu then jumps up and does a couple of moves and manages to destroy the hand weapon. It's this hand weapon that's been turning all these Pokemon into metal statues. So once you destroy the weapon, all the Pokemon that have been turned to statues then go back to normal. Ash then teams up with Latios and they beat the hunter in some very good fashion. We then also see that Officer Jenny has arrived, which means the hunter is going to jail. Towards the end of the episode, Latios and Latias then say their goodbyes and head away, although Latios still doesn't trust Ash and the others 100% yet. So anyway, the Latios and Latias then fly away, and here I thought that the episode had ended. However, the next scene was, I think, the best in the entire episode. They then head to the town, or the big city, from the 5th Pokemon movie, from the movie Heroes Latios and Latias. And that means that this movie, this location and the characters in it are canon. Like, we always thought that the movies were not part of the main storyline, but this shows that it is. We also get to see Bianca and the Latias that turns herself into Bianca to hide amongst the people, and it was amazing to see because they had the right music, and my face lit up because I thought this was the end of the episode. I honestly just, like, in my notes I wrote, right, end, and there's the end of it. But then when they played this, it was just like, wow. Once Latios and Latias head to this town, and they then fly around it a little bit, look at all the sights, and then head off into the sky, and that is where the episode ends. There's a couple of points I want to talk about. Obviously, let's talk about Latios, the blue version of these type of species. I really enjoyed it. The fact that it wasn't trusting towards humans, it was a bit like Latias at the beginning. Although I didn't really like its call, its cry that it was making. I felt like it should have been the same as Latias's. From what I remember, it's normally like that, but it's still good to see. It was good to see that it actually used its like hyper speed at one point with Ash, and it was just good to see that finally all these little cameos of Latias has finally paid off into something that's been good in this little season that we've had. Another thing I want to talk about is obviously the town from the 5th Pokemon movie. Just a little thing I want to mention that it's just really made me smile and really happy to see that this is now officially in the main series of the anime. And it was good to see Bianca and the Latias version of Bianca as well. And also I do want to say that this episode, it felt like a movie. Not because of the quality, but because of the storyline. The storyline was really good in my opinion. It just felt like I was watching a Pokemon movie. I think with the opening of this week's episode, they used the music that they normally use from the Pokemon movie, so that might have set it off for me, but it felt really good quality, a really good quality episode. So I think the rating I'm going to have to give this episode is an 11 out of 10, with the recommendation definitely watch, because it was an outstanding episode. But there we go. I think that's where I'm going to end this week's episode off. Let me know what your thoughts are down below in the comments. Let me know what you thought of Latios and the fact that they had the town from Pokemon Movie 5 and Bianca was in there. Hit that thumbs up button if you enjoyed these episodes, and finally subscribe to the channel if you are new. We've only got one episode left, as I keep saying. But thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next week with the last one.